We were discussing about this mental traps. The psychological bias are the foundations and mental traps are building blocks from them. And if psychological biases are seeds and mental traps are just trees, seed versus tree and foundations versus buildings. There are examples of mental traps like procrastination, delaying any work, or fear of failure, no action due to fear, fear of success, no action due to ownership or responsibility. So there are mental traps, and the origin is psychological biases. And we were discussing about this. Mental mastery is a key to success. Whoever achieved the top 1,000 celebrities or businessmen, they're all achieved mental mastery. So they are free of almost free of mental traps and psychological biases. That weightage goes 50% of the other skills. And continuous learning is 15%, clear vision, long-term focus is 10%, risk management 10%, pattern recognition from the experience is 10%, people networking is 5%. And in this luck plays only 5%, not 100%. Because on the contrary, everybody were thinking that they are because of luck they are gone to this level. No, it's only 5%. It's all well researched and documented, and it is available. Okay. Now we will go in detail about psychological biases. Actually, everybody's one way or the other biased because it's origin from evolution, because it's all our brain is wired for all the biases, and biases were helpful in jungle. For example, a lion jumps out. Our brain says immediately run, no analysis, no debate, nothing. Speed matters more than perfect accuracy in jungle. So it's inbuilt, it's an instinct. Whereas the same biases hurt in modern cases, like situation where we need to invest for plan for 10 years. Our brain is still wired for the speed, follow what everyone else is buying, because same survival instincts are giving a catastrophic effects now. It was helpful in jungle, but in modern cases, it's not helpful. It's misfiring. We need calm research, calm understanding, rather than instant gut reaction. In short, biases are helpful in small circles like family, small groups. They are all survival tools. For example, it's like video game number 1. So we can play very easily in small circles, small families, small groups, survival tools, they are all. Whereas in big circles, markets, politics, society, wherever key decisions are to be made, like it's like video game 100 level, 101, 102, like that. So we tend to mess up. So that is a reason one has to understand and aware of all the psychological biases. In this slide, we will discuss about psychological biases and their impact. So they are all some key psychological biases well documented in the recent history, like herd mentality bias, overconfidence bias, anchoring bias, loss aversion bias, confirmation bias, sunk cost fallacy, status quo bias. They are all there in every walk of our day-to-day activities that we are seeing. And in this, you see major collapse in civilized society because of this. Take the example of herd mentality bias. Because of this, French Revolution took place. In the last 15 years, stampede alone killed 3,000 people. And overconfidence bias, Napoleon thought he would crush Russia, lost 400,000 soldiers. Anchoring bias, Kodak stuck with film roll cameras, died in digital camera age. Loss aversion bias, Hindustan Motors had very excellent brand called Ambassador. and they lost it because of that loss aversion bias. Confirmation bias. Hitler ignored the facts. He was very much biased, led the famous Nazi empire to collapse. And sunk cost fallacy. USA in Vietnam, Afghanistan, they collapsed because of this psychological bias. Status quo bias. Nokia refused to shift to smartphones and they lost the market share. Now nowhere. Nokia mobile is nowhere in the market, literally. And Mughal Empire refused to modernize their military, eventually lost. So this is major collapses in civilized society due to psychological biases and their impacts. And this is just a research study shows how key psychological biases play very important role in trading, investing, business, job, educations. See, the top 5, 6 biases play very critical role. Loss aversion bias, herd mentality bias, overconfidence bias. We will get into each in detail. Just a short clip. Anchoring bias, confirmation bias. These alone play around almost 85% of impact in trading and investing and business and job and in education also. Because someone is successful in trading, someone is successful in investing, someone is successful in business or job, and someone is very successful in education, gold medalists. The key behind all this success and failure are psychological biases. And this loss aversion bias, head mentality bias, overconfidence bias, instant gratification bias, anchoring bias, confirmation bias, they are the key biases. Actually, these biases were very helpful in cave and jungle. For example, head mentality bias. If a tribe follows near a river or fruit, everybody followed. It's safe. But in civilized society, it has opposite effect. Market bubbles, price escalation, panic selling, stampedes, falling for financial scams. And the same with overconfidence bias. In jungle, it was giving guts to fight, hunt, lead. But in civilized society, makes you blind to danger, take dumb risks. Anchoring bias, first idea saved energy, like that short tree is having fruit, so we have to go there in jungle. But in the same civilized society, stuck for old informations, bad calls, stuck thinking, and loss aversion bias, avoiding dangerous areas, food saved lives. Afraid, I mean, in modern civilized society, afraid to let go, hold losing stocks, missing growth. So the same with confirmation bias. So each and every bias were helpful in jungle, but they were all not helpful in civilized society. This is all about that, and we will get into this each and every bias very shortly so that we can understand their impact, how it is making one to be successful or to be unsuccessful in investing or trading. See, this is herd mentality or crowd mentality. Like everybody is following, so one is following. For example, rat race, staying in toxic job because everyone is staying in that job. A dream, maybe our neighbor is drowning in debt, buys a luxurious car, and we also tend to follow. These are all the examples of herd mentality. The most common yet dangerous herd behavior is choosing an education career path just because everyone is doing it. So herd mentality was helpful in jungle, but it's no more helpful in the civilized society. This is the point. Anyone can give one example on how it could harm by following the herd? They can put it in the chat. Yeah, Sahadev is mentioned falling for scams. So falling for scam is one sort of head mentality only, because we follow the crowd. We hear, because if, in any scam, if you hear how you get into this, they will say my friend was doing it and my neighbor was doing it and my relative was telling me to do it. So because just because he is doing, so it will be good for me. That is how people fall into scam. Yeah. For example, if a group of students take it and you don't have interest, correct, you may never be able to recover from this loss. Buying expensive mobiles without knowing futures of purpose, correct. So they are all the classical example of head mentality. Yeah, B and EC is trending. So I all took. And I mean, that is for electronics and communication engineering. Everybody was taking because just because it was trendy. And it is so that the salary of that particular engineering degree was dropping, because everybody, there are so many engineers. So the head mentality was helpful in the jungle, but it's no more helpful in the reality. So that is the difference. We will get into next slide. Instant gratification trap, or it's otherwise known as present bias. Spending rupees 500 on fast food today, but if we spend that 500, that may give return of 5,000 rupees tomorrow. Many do not think about the future. Everybody is living for the moment. That is, of course, everybody should live for the moment, but we should plan for the future also. It happened once. I was discussing with one of the general manager in a hotel. He was asking, should we only live for the moment? Yes, I said, yes, of course, here and now, we should only for the moment. No past, no future. Yes, as an individual, yes, but as a corporate, if I say I will only live for today, how I will pay salary to employees tomorrow? How I will plan for the next hotel chains or next restaurant chains in the other cities. If I don't plan, I will perish. So I have to think of next 5 years. So this is well fitting into present bias, or otherwise known as instant gratification trap. So we have to follow rules, 24-48 hour rule before big purchases. And one biggest blunder, this like many families in India spend lakhs or even crores on weddings, often taking loans, selling assets, and or removing the retirement savings just to meet society expectations or show status, which is not required in fact. This is availability bias. It was a survival trigger in jungle. For example, a tiger attacked near the river yesterday, and brain remembers that as a most recent danger and avoids that area. But in modern life, the same availability bias is misfiring. Many people are afraid to invest after a recent market crash because that is only in their mind. Because our brain is wired for such biases. And people are avoiding investing and fearing another crash. And they forget to look into the history and missing eventually long-term growth opportunities. And this is status quo bias, sticking with what we know despite better alternatives. In that, there are two pictures. You see, one guy is offering a wheel, and the other guy is saying, "No, this work fire. This is working fine. I mean, that looks dangerous." And they are not having any wheel. It's a rectangular wooden part. They are using it to transport. It's not a wheel. It's not a circle. And so likewise, you see this. Would you like a shovel? He's offering, that guy is saying, "No, no, I'm already using this spoon. It's enough for me." So the status quo bias is something that we are sticking with our ideas, we are not willing to change. And the Nokia was #1 brand in 2005, and now they lost almost into lost position now. And because of this, some key decision maker who ignored new changes, they don't want to change. Whoever didn't change, they lost. That is what status quo bias. This is overconfidence bias. I already know how this works. High risks for or ignore advice. The guy who is in the branch, sitting on the branch and cutting it, thinking that he knows everything. And somebody is investing in crypto and losing hundreds of thousands because of overconfidence bias. Napoleon thought he would crush Russia, lost 400,000 soldiers. And somebody has, put in chat that wasn't Nokia bought by another company. I'm talking about the brand as a brand. Nokia brand is no more in the mobile history. They were there 15 years back, 10 years back. No, not now. So that was explaining their status quo bias. And this is overconfidence bias. And Napoleon thought he would crush Russia and lost 400,000 soldiers. So small bias, small decisions, big losses. This is anchoring bias. Everybody's, coming across this. If something is offered as price A, $500, we will not buy. If it is offered like $1,000, it's discounted to $500, everybody is buying because they think that $1,000 is the first information. So they are duped. They are deceived by mentioning this, that the original value is not more than $500, but they are mentioning that $1,000 is the original value and you are getting it at $500. So people remember $1,000 as a first piece of information. This is a tendency to over rely on the first piece of information encountered when making decisions, even if it is irrelevant. Here, the $1,000 is fed into the mind, and people think that $1,000 is the original value, whereas its value is not more than $500. Kodak, stuck with film rolled cameras, died in digital camera age. Kodak was supposed to be the market leader in camera, but they lost it because they didn't change it. So it's a classical example of anchoring bias. This is very, very critical bias, loss aversion bias. Because pain from loss is more than from pleasure from gains. Like, for example, pain from losses is looking more than the pleasure from gains. If avoids small risks, even if they can lead to big rewards, then we have to wait. Here comes opportunity cost. Hindustan Motor, they were holding only Ambassador. They thought Ambassador car only will rule the market always. No, so they lost it. So we have to understand the calculated risk versus gambling. Risk is not our enemy, it's ignorance is. So the loss aversion bias says we should ignore the pain from loss, but we should look at the pleasure from gains. On the contrary. So that is a point here. Somebody is questioning, should we take risk? Calculated risk. Here we mean calculated risk. It's not blind risk. We have to calculate, evaluate everything, and then take a risk. Because not taking a risk is your biggest risk. You should take risk, but it should be a calculated risk. This is what loss aversion bias emphasizes. Hold. A 22-year-old invests in stocks due to FOMO, fear of missing out. What bias is this? And I'm just going to throw money at it and see what happens. What bias is this? We discussed just now. If somebody is running behind everybody, that everybody's investing, I'm also investing. What bias is this? Fear of missing out comes out of herd mentality, herd bias. And I'm just going to throw money at it and see what happens. That is overconfidence bias. So each and every bias plays very critical role on shaping our investment decisions. Yeah, Senthil, you are right. Blind following, correct. Blind following is herd mentality bias. We discussed it. Herd mentality bias was helpful in the jungle because it was safe for us. On the contrary, it is very dangerous in modern civilized society because herd mentality will put us in deep trouble. There are so many examples. Yes, Vijay Bhaskar, yes, sir. And confirmation bias. I only believe information that agrees with me. That is confirmation bias. You ignore facts and challenge your belief about money or investing. See here, the confirmation bias shows how our beliefs and facts and evidence distorts the truth, or how, for example, we will take this example. Only reading news that says gold is safe and avoiding new investment knowledge. That is confirmation bias. And historically, Hitler ignored facts, led Nazi empire to collapse. It was confirmation bias because he was holding on to some few aspects. He was not looking at the broader picture. Eventually, he destroyed Nazi empire. And somebody's questioned, investing gold bees today is not head bias. That is the reason because it's one way, yes, head bias only. And we don't know how long the gold price will go, but it's likely to go. See, there are good parts of biases. We were always discussing. Biases were helpful in jungle for quick decisions. They are misfiring in the modern civilized society. Sometimes we tend to follow the crowd. Yes, very, very minimal, not on everything. This is sunk cost fallacy. This is very simple, where like we continue to do something that is not necessary, or that is making huge loss. And here example, I will put it. Mr. John was holding a real estate plot for years because he already spent so much on it. But selling it and reinvesting elsewhere would give better returns. But he is not doing that. He's holding that. He's holding the old losses and making further losses, and he is avoiding the future rewards or future returns he is avoiding. So that is called as sunk cost fallacy. And it's one other example. You keep playing a video game you don't like just because you already bought materials. See, this is bystander bias. It's very notorious. Like people here taking selfies or videos when somebody is drowning in the water. It was helpful in jungle, like waiting for an alpha man or group initiative before acting. Reduced individual exposure to danger. Because we tend to follow somebody so that risk is minimal. But in modern society, it is misfiring. There are so much of opportunities we are missing just because we are following someone. We are not willing to take initiative. So lack of initiative or not taking initiative is bystander bias. In Mahabharata, Bhishma's silence during Draupadi's humiliation in is one of the most famous ancient examples of bystander bias, because he might have thought maybe Dhritarashtra would save Draupadi or Lord Krishna would save Draupadi. He didn't do that. He waited for someone to take initiative. So lack of taking initiative is bystander bias. Here, there is a bar chart given. When only one person is there, 80% of chance that he will help. When one other is there, two people are there, the likelihood of helping someone is almost 60%. And when four people are there, the likelihood of helping someone is only 20%. So the point is, when only one person is there, he is helpful. When two are there, help is reduced, and four are there, diffusion of responsibility comes. Everybody thinks that other will do it. You will not do it. That is the reason many people were taking videos when accident happens or when somebody is drowning or some mishap is happening. Instead of going and helping, they are taking videos. This is a classical example of bystander bias. They are just remaining a bystander than helping. Which bias do you struggle with most? How would you overcome it? This is a poll. If you ask me, I was struggling with every bias that were mentioned, but only thing is I'm improving. I was blindly investing in some stocks about 15 years back. I made huge loss and I recovered from it. I started making very good profit. Each bias I was undergoing, and I have overcome around 99.9%. Only thing is now I am more aware of it, and biases don't hurt me. They don't hurt me. That's it. Anyone want to give any answer? Which bias do you struggle with most? Because when we interactively do this session, it will be very easier. Head mentality bias. Okay. Head mentality bias. Okay. Because everybody is tuned to this, because it's not something wrong to be biased, because we are all biased. Everybody is biased. Our earlier experience or loss. Yes, sir. Vijay Bhaskar, sir. It's a loss aversion bias. Introvert. Introvert is not a bias. Head mentality bias. Correct. Yes, many of us are following head mentality bias because it's even I myself was a victim of this bias. See, everybody is undergoing this. Only thing is we are aware, we are able to get rid of this, and we are not aware. That's it. Anchoring bias. Correct. Research more before doing an action. Correct. So, if we are confirmation bias, correct. Because confirmation bias is we are sticking with only facts that are confirming our belief. Like, for example, if we like gold, we would like only to read about gold. We would like only to study about gold. We would only like to hear facts about gold, nothing else. That is confirmation bias. Attachment. Yeah, attachment is, we can say, it's anchoring bias. Yeah, recency bias. Correct. Recency, availability bias, both are same. Almost, literally. Literally. Not almost, literally. So we so far discussed about key points of psychological biases and how were they helpful in the jungle, but how they were all misfiring today. Yes, Ravan, anchoring bias, correct. Because everybody is now Facebook or leading marketing companies, they know the psychological biases of people. See, accordingly, they design their advertisements. They're trapping us for their business. The more we are unbiased, the more we are free from bias, the more it is better for our decisions, for our profits, for our well-beings. How to overcome confirmation bias? Yeah, we will discuss them. We will discuss them. See, this is about hormones and their roles in percentage. There are key neurotransmitters. The red highlighted are the key neurotransmitters that play predominantly on our decisions in investing or jobs, schools, business, relationships. Because dopamine is motivation and reward seeking hormone. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It's for use for pressure handling, fear, everything. And norepinephrine is more for alertness, energy, fast response, everything. So we will not discuss about other hormones because they're all least important on investing, jobs, or business, or in fact relationships. So top three hormones that play a very key role in these areas of things is like dopamine, cortisol, norepinephrine. See how dopamine affects investment and other behaviors. For example, there are good dopamine habits and bad dopamine habits. For example, if it is natural or earned or stable dopamine, they are all good dopamine. And if it is artificial, instant, addictive, they are all bad. Because dopamine secretion can be done either by good habits or bad habits. In both ways, dopamine can be secreted. Like athletes, entrepreneurs, long-term investors, they're all, prone for good dopamine habits. If they are doing exercise, if they are reading, if they are doing meditation, they cultivate good dopamine habits. The dopamine secretion will be natural, earned, and stable. Whereas bad dopamine habits like addictions, content binge watchers, like Facebook like seekers, or Facebook Reels watchers, they're all prone for bad dopamine habits. Of course, everybody is prone for this. So we have to choose accordingly which one is good for us. Like scrolling, binge watching, junk food, or alcohol, gambling, they're all prone for bad dopamine habits. Still, dopamine secretion will be there, but it will be very harmful to the health. And whereas exercise, meditation, yoga, reading, long-term investing, they're all giving good dopamine into the system, which is good for the health, overall health. So when we have good dopamine habits, long-term success, sharpened mind, they give good growth. Whereas bad dopamine habits like long-term failures, they weaken focus, brings huge loss. So this is how in the brain, all these key hormones, neurotransmitters travel. This green color pathway is for serotonin and dopamine for blue and norepinephrine for violet. And when we meditate or practice gratitude or practice kindness, compassion, visualization, we regulate and rewire the brain pathways, improving emotional regulations, focus, and resilience. Because these practices changes the brain rewiring pathways and improving the emotional regulation, focus, and resilience. Any good addiction, any bad addictions, anybody can put it? Yeah, reading books are good habits, good addictions. Correct. Good addiction is reading book. Social media is bad addiction. Of course, yes. Reading book is good addiction. Playing one sport regularly is a good addiction. Correct. Because these good addictions will give natural dopamine. Okay. Goal setting addictions. Yeah, that is correct. That is for good dopamine. Correct. Playing chess. Correct. Social media is bad one. Correct. Meditation, yes, it will give good dopamine. Correct. Sleeping. Yes. So now we came to chronic stress. Okay. Okay. We will go to next slide. Overspending, yes. Overspending, video games, they are all bad addictions. Never giving up hope. Yes, this is good addiction. Okay, fine. We will get into next slide. Like chronic stress, fight, flight. Whenever we are stressful, our body is always in fight or flight. Fight means we are getting into fight mode, or flight means we are running. We are in a running mode. That is how stress hormones function. Chronic stress is like our body is always in emergency mode, 24 by 7. Chronic stress means continuous stress, always, 24 by 7. When we are into chronic stress, our body is, we are assaulting our body and slowly eroding the health, happiness, and longevity. This chronic stress examples like money problems, too much office politics, long-term health issues, relationship fights, uncertain futures, etc., etc. It plays very important role because chronic stress plays very important role on our investing decision making habits. You can see this slide. When we are having more stress hormones, it narrows our focus. We rely more on quick mental shortcuts instead of rational analysis. This is a very key point because whenever one person is very stressed, they tend to follow quick mental shortcuts because falling prone to psychological bias. And this will kill our rational analysis. Like, for example, all these riots or mob attacks, they're all happening under stress. Like, whenever we are stressful, availability bias kicks in. One judge based on the most recent event, not the most relevant facts. Because when we are biased, when we are prone for availability bias, we tend to think the recent events. Yesterday, what happened? Day before yesterday, what happened? We forget the historical fact. That is how this riots, mob attacks, they all happen. One neighbor is killing other neighbor who helped him always just because of recent fact that some religious fighting is happening, this and that. So whenever we are stressful, we tend to follow psychological biases rather than rational judgments. In market context, high cortisol during volatility can push one into head mentality bias and panic selling. Whenever one is very stressful, he tend to fall into this head mentality and do panic selling. That's a mental trap. Like how stress hormones fuel mental traps. There is a syndrome called imposter syndrome. King Louis XV was the main reason of French Revolution because he was always stressful. He was always assessing himself irrational. Because whenever he was stressful, he will talk nonsense. He will talk irrelevant. Because too much stress for any leader impairs their self-assessment and makes more self-doubt. So it is historically documented that French Revolution was the root cause of King Louis XV failure as a leader. And he failed because of imposter syndrome. Like whenever he was extremely stressful, whenever he couldn't manage things, he will start doubting himself. That is a failure of his leadership. That's it. See, these are all the top mental traps that destroy success. Fear of failure. Many Indian students avoid competitive exams, fearing rejection. Fear of failure, fearing rejection. Because many think they will not pass, so they don't appear in the competitive exams. And procrastination. This Leonardo da Vinci delayed artworks because of his procrastination habits. And many Indian professionals delay starting ventures due to fear of risk. And they don't start it, they are delaying until they turn 60, 70 years old. And imposter syndrome, we just discussed now that French Revolution took place because of King Louis XV failure, because he doubted himself. These are other examples. The owner of Starbucks founder was prone to imposter syndrome. It's all documented in the history. Richard Branson, this Virgin Group chairman, he was affected by imposter syndrome. See, whenever the imposter syndrome comes into a leaders, they will always talk about self-doubt. They will talk irrelevant things in the public. They will doubt about their leadership qualities, etc., etc. And the roots are extreme stress or unmanaged stress levels. This overthinking is another mental trap. Hamlet overanalyzed decisions. There are some people, they will not take any decision. They will hold it because they will always think. They will not take any decision. And perfectionism is a mental trap. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, he was obsessed with over product detail that created delays on launching the products. It was very well known fact. And even Amir Khan, he was a perfectionist. And that perfectionism made him to act in movies that will come once in 3 years, 4 years. Take the name in Tamil cinema, Vikram. He's a perfectionist. His movies will come like once in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 2 years. Like perfectionism is a mental trap. And tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is like we will focus only on very narrowed approach. Like Indira Gandhi suffered with this tunnel vision. She brought emergency. So mental traps cause huge effects on the country, business, and it has to be taken care. And the roots of mental traps are psychological biases, because psychological biases are foundations and mental traps are buildings. And psychological biases are seeds and mental traps are trees. Which of the three traps hold you back most? Anyone can answer? Everybody undergoes all these mental traps. See, there are around 15 to 20 mental traps, but I mentioned only top 6, 7. In fact, I myself was having fear of failure, procrastination issues, imposter syndrome long back, but I overcame over the years. Only thing is, we have to know what is we are trapped in. Yeah, overthinking, fear of failure, of course. Fear of failure, overthinking, fear of failure, overthinking, fear of failure. Yes, 1 to 4, the most. See, this is not something new to people because everybody is prone for these mental traps and psychological biases. The only thing is we need to overcome them in order to make very good profit in stock market or business or even in schooling education. Okay, procrastination. Okay, we'll get into next slide. We are almost coming to the end now. We'll have question and answer sessions follow this. See, this is ways to get rid of psychological bias and traps. If you see out of 100%, meditation like heartfulness, mindfulness, or even you can name it art of living, they play crucial role. 30% of out of 100% can be solved by meditation alone, and balance 20% like surrounding with mentors, peer groups, and we have to make decision making systems, journaling, and deliberate exposure to opposing views. When we follow all these systems in practice, we can get rid of psychological biases and traps 100%. The meditation helps, surrounding with mentors, peer groups helps, and decision making systems if we form and formulate. For example, we are going and buying some mobile phone. We have to follow a system. We have to, like once in 3 years, we have to buy a mobile phone. Or we are investing on particular stock. We have to follow a system. We have to have a checklist, whether we are doing it. 5 checklist, why to buy, 5 checklist, why to sell. So when we make this all decision making systems, this will help 25% of the mental traps and psychological biases to get removed. And journaling, 15%. We have to write down things. We have to write down what we did, what we didn't do. We can keep Google Keep in our mobile or desktop so that we can write down things so that everything is organized, so that we will not fall into the trap of psychological biases and traps. And deliberate exposure to opposing views. For example, we are investing in some stocks. We have to follow some groups, whether they are discussing good or bad. We have to hear both. We should not hear only the facts that are supporting us or our beliefs. Because if we are doing that, we are falling prey for this confirmation bias and etc. etc. And we don't want to change ourselves. We are falling into status quo bias. So these are the ways to get rid of all the psychological biases and traps. Okay, this is the end of session. I will read with the good words from Daji, the Heartfulness Guide. Every day is a golden opportunity to design our own destiny, by Daji. And Love All, Hurt None is also by Daji. He is a global guide of heartfulness. Because everybody is undergoing their evolutionary paths, because somebody is very improved, somebody is not at all improved. So we have to understand, because it's all natural. We have to accept everybody as they are. That's why we have to love all and hurt none. Because we should not say that somebody is very much biased, and we should not say they are bad or they are good. We should not have any prejudices. I think we have finished now, session 2. And we can have question and answer sessions. We can, if anybody is having any question, we can discuss from phase 1 to phase 2. This is phase 1. We discussed about money, opportunity cost, inflation, difference between savings and investing, magic of compounding, the rule of 72, and how time beats amount, like yearly investing and its role, difference between needs and wants, assets, liabilities, passive active incomes, how to set smart goals. And in this session 2, we discussed about more on psychological traps and psychological biases. Any questions? We can discuss and close it. I will unmute everybody now so that we can discuss. Yes, sir. Vijay Bhaskar, sir, you are saying something. Yeah, I think we can have 1 second. Let us see the chat box.
Satish, good thing. Thank you. See, what are the things people can look at as a small private investments without risk to have an understanding?
1 second.
Apart from mutual funds or something like that. Everybody is into shares. Is there any other savings which is safe now?
Okay. 1 second.
Sir, I mean, uncle.
Okay. One by one, we will discuss. Actually, sir, this is about investing and taking investment decisions about whether mutual fund or something related to stocks or gold bees. This is all depending on the risk level that one is going to take. If the person is low risk or medium risk and high risk, things can be customized. Actually, I'm not SEBI approved advisor, but I can, as a friend, or I can explain. Based on the risk profile age, we can discuss. But when we are very young, like 20 or 25, if one person is becoming zero at the age of 20 or at the age of 40 or at the age of 60, it all matters. It has having different meaning. So in early ages, we can be very high risk taking or medium risk taking. But when we are aging, so after 40 plus or after 50 plus, we have to be less risk taking.
Hi, Satish. Melvin here.
Hi, Melvin, bro. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Thanks for this wonderful webinar. My point here is this is more tilted towards the psychological aspect of an investor, which is
Correct.
what we wanted, because those are the key aspects that would influence your decisions or any investor's decisions going forward.
Correct.
Even if we start either with equity, we start with mutual funds, we start with normal fixed deposits, gold, commodities, whatever you can name as investments. So this was an insight on the psychological aspect of an investor, which is really very well made and very insightful on how we should start, whether be it at a young age or mid 30s age or early 40s. So it
Correct.
was a great insight. The slides are very well prepared. And yes, we need to have more focus going forward for like the other person who just asked the question now.
Yes, sir.
What should we start with? That would go with probably the upcoming episodes and upcoming webinars where you can address those questions that we would have, like when we should start. The earlier, the better. Compounding plays a very big part of it. And then what are the instruments that we should start with? Let's say an age bracket of 15 to 25 should start with what? Probably an age bracket of 25 to 35 should start with what? And if we are in the late 40s, what they can go with, like you said, low risk or high risk, middle risk, depending on the asset class that you're going for.
Okay. See, this session so far meant for youngsters, youth, and teens, so that the foundation level is made very clear to them, so that they can raise the buildings as per their own understandings in the coming years for next 10 years or so.
Very true.
This was meant for that, because we were so far discussing about peripherals, and the core we didn't come yet. Peripherals means what is money, how is money, where is money, why is money, we discussed in the session 1. And in session 2, the psychological aspects about investing, business, trading, we discussed. We didn't touch the core parts, like what is value investing, what is growth investing, what is technical trading.
That should be yet to come. Yes, it should
That
be
is
done
yet
in
to come,
stages.
because
Yes.
we should
It should be done in stages.
I thought of covering the peripherals first, like in this, so that we are
No,
very
it
clear
was a
about
one.
it, and we can.
It was a very wonderful presentation. The psychological aspect counts the most because, like you said, fight or flight depends on what particular age group that you're in or you define
Yes, brother.
yourself in.
Yes, brother. And the earlier they start the investment, the better it is. And they can start like saving, instead of saving 100, 200, 500 rupees, they can start investing it. They can make mistakes. That is the reason I say when somebody's making mistake at the age of 20, 40, 60, it all gives different vibrational level of results. So
Very true.
earlier the investment, it is better. How much, somebody is asking how much minimum investment for a month? It depends. First we have to invest and then only we have to spend. This is a rule. We have to first
Correct.
invest like 30% or 20% of our salary, and then only we have to spend. Minimum 20% of our salary should be spent for, should be spent for investing. It's not spent for investing. We should invest 20% of our salary. Minimum.
Yeah,
If it is
yeah.
more than,
In one of your earlier discussions that we had also, you said follow the 80-20 rule initially when you're young, because that is
correct.
when your appetite for risk is much higher. And then you bring down the ratio as you mature. And once you have learned the markets and learned done your due diligence, follow that accordingly. You keep
Correct.
changing the variation based on how you mature and how well you're well versed in the market. This is what you
Correct.
have taught me.
Correct. Correct. And we should focus on diversified investment like stocks, mutual funds, gold Bs, and like even some sort of real estates, and like at least 5 to 6 mode of investment should be made. And it depends on the risk profile also, because for me, if I have to speak about myself, I am a very, very high risk taker. I invested almost 95% of money in the stock market. But it doesn't apply to everyone. There are low risk takers, there are medium risk takers, and they have to diversify. It's because I invest 95% in stock market mainly because I'm a high risk taker. I know I spend a lot of time and I work out on risk mitigation, everything. So I'm prepared. But if someone is not prepared, if someone is not well equipped on research, understanding, so they have to play very safe. And somebody was asking, Melvin.
That also would come in the forthcoming classes that you have, like how segmentation of age group should help a person to take the right decisions, or at least close to right decisions, by understanding market dynamics, and then take it forward depending on the age group and their appetite for risk.
Correct. And age group, it depends. If they have to earlier, if they are starting at the age of 17 or 16 or 18, they should start very, safe investment modes. What they understand, they have to invest. They should not touch anything else. What they understand, that only they have to invest. Nothing else. And cryptocurrency and these things, they should never touch because they don't understand. Falling into cryptocurrency and losing money is one part of bias, psychological bias we discussed. That is just instant gratification bias, and it's a combination of multiple biases. So we have to be, the purpose of discussing all about these psychological biases is to make one to understand about self-evaluation, what they think, what they do, how they can master what they are into. That's it. So we have to learn about psychological biases more and more, and mental traps more and more, so that our losses are getting reduced. Someone is making more loss, they have to look at what they are biased into, where they are trapped into, so that they can minimize the losses and maximize the profits. And somebody is asking, please explain more about 72, rule 72. Yeah, rule 72 is benchmark for how long it takes to double the money. 72 divided by, for example, 7 years. In 7 years, how much it is going to double? 72 divided by 7 is almost 10. 10 years or 10%. For example, 72 divided by 7 years is 10% roughly. Or 72 divided by 7 years is equal to, like, what it is, like 10%. So it is both. In 72 is in the top, and percentage or number of years in the bottom. That's it. It will give the doubling period. And what kind of mindset would required for fresh stock market investor? Patience. We have to be patient. We should not get into trading. Technical trading is dangerous. For beginners, they have to understand. They should understand the business. They should understand the market. They should understand chart. Of course, technical trading, they have to understand the charts, everything first, of course. But they should not blindly follow one, like technical alone or fundamentals alone. No, it's not. So the basic, requirement is patience and passion. One should be passionate about what they're into, and one should have the passions, both passion and patient. They're the key requirements of the beginners in the stock market investment. What are the basic investment opportunity apart from shares as private investments? Apart from shares, we have real estate, we have gold bees, we have good cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrencies I will not recommend. But gold, real estate, or even mutual funds, systematic withdrawal plans, SWP, they are all good.
That you have all, you have discussed with us on different groups.
Day-to-day basis, yes.
Yes, that's a wonderful way of investing, balancing your portfolio. If you have a systematic investment plan where you put in monthly, and then the rest of it is left to you to decide, like you said, to buy equity, commodities, to understand the basics, not with a very big exposure amount, but with small amounts. Because being teenagers, young teenagers who are getting into the market for the first time, how you have taught all of us, that's the way a structured approach to be followed while
Correct.
investing and keeping your portfolio balanced.
Correct. So rather than investing in the value, it is more important to keep the investment on the market for a long time as possible. Yes. And what can be the best habit to stay updated about stocks and markets? Best habit to stay updated is reading and discussing with the mentors. Reading and develop the curiosity and discuss with mentors or seniors, whoever in the market. I think this is the answer to Vaishali. And anybody else, any questions? I think no more questions. I think with this, can we end the session? Any more questions, please?
We're good to go, sir.
AI you recommend?
Of course, sir. AI, without AI, nothing is going to happen. Next 10 years, AI only will rule. Artificial intelligence will rule in the next 5 years, 10 years. We should
get specific AI that. You suggest for financial investing?
AI mode or investing in the AI?
For financial investing, to understand financial investing, which AI is best?
There are AI stocks in India and in US. But I think if you are meaning about the stocks, yes, there are IT companies. They are venturing into AI very rapidly, like companies like Saxoft, Infosys, Tata Consultancy Services. Many are there. So understanding their business model and profit, loss, everything, then we have to invest accordingly.
No, in particular about this investing part, like which is the better to invest at the current scenario, depending upon the political situation or depending upon the economical conditions, which will be good, like that any AI which is really dominating in that sector on investment.
This I think we will discuss in the off the line, because we were discussing about mutual funds, stocks, gold, and things like that here. We will discuss this off the session.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's all. How does a crash happen? Crash happen by panic selling. Panic selling happens because of herd mentality. I think this answers Parash's question. So we have to understand the psychology of how market crashes crashes happen, how bull market phases happen, how bear market phases happen. Then we can easily play accordingly. So it will be like a child's play for us. Once we master the psychology, it's a child's play. We can rule. We can decide our own destinies. I think any more questions? One last question we will answer and wind up the session. I think we can wind up now. No more questions. You can put your comments in the WhatsApp group so that we can understand. Please put your comments in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Satish.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Uncle,
Thank you. Yeah.
if my age is 10, so which age should we start investigating?
You are 10 years old. You can start now also. You can start investing on your father's account or your mother's account. You can read whatever your pocket money you are earning. You can put it in that investment.
But how can we investigate?
You can invest by your father's demat account or your mother's demat account only. You cannot invest on your own account. You cannot open your account unless you are 18 years old. And you
Okay.
can invest like 1,000 rupees, 500 rupees, 200 rupees per month. No problem.
It's investing on the coin box. It's bank.
Instead of putting your money into piggy bank or donation box or whatever you call, you put it in the bank accounts and invest it. How to invest
Okay.
it? There are modes. There are easy ways.
Okay. Thank you, Uncle.
Yeah, thank you. I think, can we close? Okay, we are closing down. Thank you.